Marla.
Thanks, Leo, and good morning, everyone. I think wherever you're tuning in from, it's still morning in the U.S. I'm really happy to have you with us with this terrific panel. So as Leo said, our topic is safely reopening America's schools. And the question of how schools can be reopened in ways that protect the health and safety of the students who attend there, the adults who work there, and the families who have connections to those important institutions is on everyone's mind. I do not need to say that, especially to most of the people who are likely to be tuning into this Zoom conversation. The challenging thing about this is that we seem to have new developments every day, whether in terms of the prevalence and spread of the virus or new possibilities around treatment and vaccine, or new policies coming forth from schools and districts as educators work and public health officials work to figure this all out. We have a wonderful panel today to begin to dig into some of those questions. What does safe reopening look like? How do we do it? How do we support it? What do we need to come together and fight for? What I'm going to do is take a couple of minutes to tell you about our panelists. I'm going to introduce them in alphabetical order. They won't necessarily speak in alphabetical order because we want this to be somewhat conversational. I'm going to have some leading questions for all, and some that are a little more targeted to some of our speakers than others. And then you'll have an opportunity to contribute questions as well through the Q&A function. And we'll be eager to see how that works. I know there are many great questions and ideas out there. So let me start by introducing our first alphabetical speaker, Karan Blair. Karan is Executive Director of the Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools, or AROS. He's an organizer with more than 10 years experience in working for social change, most recently as the Membership Director for United Working Families in Chicago. He was also the field director for Raise Illinois, a statewide campaign to raise the minimum wage, and for Illinois Unites for Marriage, the campaign that secured the freedom to marry for gay couples in Illinois. Karan has been a trainer and campaign strategist for the Midwest Academy, where he worked at the state, city, and national level to design and implement strategic campaigns on a variety of issues, including public education. And Karan also served as Director of Interfaith Worker Justice in New Orleans, where he helped to bring coalitions to strengthen rights for workers. Our second speaker alphabetically is Linda Darling-Hammond, and Linda is having a few technical issues and is on by phone, and we expect to see her face shortly as those get straightened out. Technical issues is what we call them now. The internet goes out, right? Linda Darling-Hammond is president of the California-based of the California State Board of Education, and she's the founding president of the Learning Policy Institute. Previously, Linda was the Charles E. Ducoman Professor of Education Emeritus at Stanford, where she founded the Stanford Center for Opportunity Policy and Education, SCOPE, and served as faculty sponsor of the Stanford Teacher Ed program, which she helped to redesign. Linda is past president of AERA and a recipient of its awards for distinguished contributions to research, lifetime achievement, and research to policy. She's also a member of the American Association of Arts and Sciences and the National Academy of Education. I can never introduce Linda without mentioning that she was the executive director of the National Commission on Teaching in America's Future, whose 1996 report, What Matters Most? Teaching for America's Future, was named one of the most influential reports affecting U.S. education for that decade. Linda started out as a public school teacher and co-founded a preschool and a public high school. Jacqueline Moline Md, Dr. Jacqueline Moline, is chairperson of the Department of Occupational Medicine, Epidemiology, and Prevention at the Donald and Barbara Zucker School of Medicine at Hofstra University, Northwell Health. And she's director of Northwell Health Queens World Trade Center Health Program and director of Occupational Environmental Medicine of Long Island, Northwell Health. Before that, Jackie was associate professor in the Department of Community and Preventive Medicine at Mount Sinai School of Medicine, as well as associate professor of internal medicine. She also served as the director of Mount Sinai's Clinical Center of Excellence within the World Trade Center Medical Monitoring and Treatment Program. that has diagnosed and treated thousands of World Trade Center responders in the New York metro area and across the US. Jackie is board certified in internal medicine and in occupational medicine and serves on editorial boards of several journals and holds a number of prestigious fellowships. Our last speaker alphabetically is Randy Weingarten. Randy is my boss, but that's not the point here. She's also the president of the 1.7 million member American Federation of Teachers, AFL-CIO, which represents teachers, paraprofessionals, school-related personnel, higher education faculty and staff, and nurses and healthcare professionals, as you know well, if you have seen TV in the last 10 weeks. And of course, we represent state and federal government employees and early childhood educators as well. Randy has a dual role in serving as president of the Albert Shanker Institute, which is sponsoring today's event. And prior to her election at AFT, Randy served for 12 years as president of the UFT. While president there, Randy chaired the New York City Municipal Labor Committee, which is the umbrella organization for more than 100 public sector unions. Randy also hates to be introduced without it being mentioned that she taught for several years at Clara Barton High School in Brooklyn's Crown Heights neighborhood, where she helped her students win several state and national awards for debating constitutional issues that may now be arguably more important than ever. Randy holds degrees from Cornell University's School of Industrial Labor Relations and the Cardozo School of Law, and unless you have been under a rock for the last 10 weeks, you know that Randy has really been active fighting for our members and other frontline workers during the course of this pandemic and helping focus our attention on what matters most to protect frontline workers, whether educators, healthcare workers, transport workers, and those that they serve. I'm really happy to see that we now have Linda here virtually in face as well as voice. So welcome, Linda. I think that there is a slide, Brian and Vicki, I apologize if I missed it and you showed it already, that also shows about how to answer questions when we get to that. If we can pop that up for a moment now and then come back to it later when you'll have more of an opportunity, if that works. And then I am going to get us started, launch right into our first question. In fact, actually, Vicki, it's fine. Why don't we wait till we get a little closer to questioning? So it's no surprise. Americans have rediscovered what most of us know over the last few months, how important schools are to our country, not only for educating our young people, but for their general well-being, social connections, and so many more things, including, frankly, for more than we care to think about, feeding them and getting them access to basic wellness and other needs. So it's all of our concern that schools be reopened in ways that protect the health and safety of students and staff. So the question is, what is most essential to be in place for schools to safely reopen? And Randy, I want to start that question with you because the AFT plan is one that's not only very specifically on what needs to happen with schools and what they look like, but also the larger societal context and the pillars of the AFT plan. So would you tell us a little bit about what essentials are necessary for schools to reopen?